During the next half hour, we'll talk with Cardinal Blase Cupich about the need for gun control legislation and improved access to mental health care. We'll take you to the U-I-C Pavilion, where thousands of preteens, teenagers, and young adults celebrated their faith. And we'll tell you about the very deserving individuals who were honored at Noche de Gala for their work in Hispanic ministry. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Hello, I'm Todd Williamson, Director of the Office for Divine Worship with the Archdiocese of Chicago, and I'm here in studio with Cardinal Blase Cupich. Cardinal, welcome. It's good to see you.
Good to be again with you.
Thanks very much. You know, we're starting the show on a very somber note because once again,
Yes.
Our nation has experienced a tragic mass shooting in Sutherland Springs, Texas. A church, people going to church. Cardinal, you were very quick to respond.
Well, there's a common denominator in all of these shootings, and that is that people are using high-powered weapons, where it is very easy to gun down a lot of people in a very short amount of time, whether that takes place in a shopping mall or a school, a church, as we've had here, or in a neighborhood that we have in Chicago. A lot of the murders that are taking place in our streets are using these very high-powered weapons. So I did say that the time for giving speeches and standing behind podiums and expressing condolences and well wishes to people who suffer, that time is over with. We have to act. And it is an important moment for us as a nation to say, are we going to value the lives of women and children and men and women, fathers and mothers in society, or are we going to give lip service to their safety and support, in fact, people who are making a lot of money off of these high-powered weapons? This is not about the Second Amendment. This is about money. And people are making a lot of money on these high-powered weapons. So it seems to me time for us as a nation to take some action, and for elected officials also to take action. Forget about doing studies. Let's take action.
Wow. You said thoughts and well wishes are not enough.
Right. It's standing behind a podium and offering that it really is not sufficient anymore, and that really is that dishonors those who were killed. I think if everybody would just look at their own family and look around a room at a dinner table and ask themselves if a person in the family around that table were shot because of these high-powered weapons, they would be pounding on the table for action.
Yeah.
We should do that because these are all part of the human family. And it's a disgrace to our nation not to act.
Yeah. You also spoke at the same time about mental health accessibility.
Well, it is true that a lot of these people who carry out these actions are not getting the mental health that they need and require. And so as we have care for people with health care in the city, I mean in the nation, we need to make sure that mental health is an ordinary part of coverage for people. So my hope would be that we would take a look at this in terms of the mental health. We have people on the streets every day who are homeless, who are panhandling, asking for money. A good number of those are mentally ill people. The people who run our prisons tell us that a high proportion of the people who are in prison are mental health cases. And so what we've done is transfer all the cost and all of the care for people who have mental health into our prisons. Yeah. So this has to be a priority for us.
Very, very strange question, but a real question. Should people be afraid to go to church? What do you say to that as our chief shepherd, as our pastor?
I would hope that they're not afraid to go to church. I would hope that, first of all, the people would not ask us to turn our churches into war zones. We have to be bigger than that. We have to be more than that. I'm convinced that our churches are safe. We do have this kind of incident every so often. It's just like our malls safe, our grade schools safe, and so on. We could turn everything into a war zone if we want to. But that is one of the reasons I restricted guns from our churches. You can't go into a hospital, a school. You can't go into the House of Representatives or the Senate floor with a gun. So when these elected officials get up and talk about the right to bear arms from the Second Amendment, and yet they won't allow those guns on their house, in the House of Representatives or on the Senate floor. So it just seems to me to be important for us to realize that we don't need guns in society. We're not at war with one another. We should not be carrying weapons that declare war on people.
It's a somber topic, as I said, but it's an important topic. We needed to touch on.
Well, and people need to take action.
Yeah.
We live in a democracy. Let's take action and speak up.
Yep. Cardinal, I'm going to change directions here, a little bit more celebratory, because recently you took part in the Holy Fire and the Re-Encounter. The U-I-C Pavilion filled with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and then in the evening with young adults. Our radio and TV office was there, and they got this report. Let's take a look.
Oh, good. I'd like to see it.
Chicago adults, let's go. Let us open ourselves to the Holy Spirit. May our hearts be receptive to whatever the Spirit wants to give us tonight.
Young people today in today's world are looking for places of belonging. You know, you look at Chicago, there's a ton of young people moving into the city every month for job, for school, for internships. And the question for us as a church is, how do we get out to welcome them and engage them in faith? Some of them do come to our churches, some don't, but they still have this calling, the spiritual need to belong. So events like Re-Encounter create a great place for people to belong, to be with one another, to celebrate, and hopefully to pray that the Spirit of God will touch their hearts.
Please welcome to the stage Cardinal Blase Cupich and Mark Wahlberg.
Because my parents worked so hard just to provide, I had a lot of time to myself, and most of that time I spent running around the streets, getting a street education. I left school at an early age. I quit school at 13. Ended up getting into a lot of trouble, being incarcerated, tried as an adult at 16, 17. And that was a big wake-up call for me, Father. So I decided, you know what, I needed to turn my life around. And a lot of people go to God, especially when they get in trouble. And, you know, when I heard the jail doors close behind me, I started praying right away. But I knew that that was just the beginning for me, because I knew I really wanted to turn my life around.
I learned a lot. I learned about trust. I learned also about, you know, discipline. What is the first thing that you do when you wake up? It's a prayer. It's a nut. It definitely was inspired by the testimony of Mark. He wakes up at 3:30 in the morning. You know, that was impressive. The first thing he does is to pray.
I was really impressed by their journeys as well, but the difference in their journeys. So there's a cardinal here who's devoted his entire life to God and to our Lord, and then Mark Wahlberg, who was convicted. I didn't even know that.
What do you think about the Archdiocese reaching out more to young adults?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely needed. So it's great to see something like this executed, and the number of people that came out shows that this is what people want.
Well, he was so authentic and very transparent about his life, and as I said at the beginning, very human. And I think that that's really an important message for young people today, to love their humanity, love the life that God has given them. And he has done that, and I think that came through very well tonight.
Wow. We were both there. I mean, it was a great event. Over 4,000 middle schoolers on Friday, and almost as much on Saturday. About 1,700 young adults on Friday night. It was a great experience.
Think about that: 10,000 young people over a weekend that came together to celebrate faith, to identify as Catholics, to be supportive of one another. One of the things that we really can't ignore is that kids today are attending school in a very diverse situation, where there are people who are not believers at all, who deny the existence of God, who don't attend to spiritual life. And so when you get kids together who share this common faith, it strengthens them. And we need to do more of that. My hope would be that we would continue not only with those numbers, but increase them. Day in and day out, people are asking for opportunities to be supportive of their children's faith.
It certainly was an increase in numbers from last year. So that's great.
Right, and I think that you know, this does. It's great that this is called Holy Fire because it ignites something, and we want to make sure that this fire spreads.
So there were talks to the young people.
Yes.
Presentations. There was a lot of music. You a fan of hip hop music? Were you?
No, no, that's not my style. You know, it's I'm not exactly the Roaring '20s, but I like the crooners of the '50s.
There you go. There you go. But it was the energy was fantastic. Then in the evening, Friday evening, almost 2,000 young adults, right, gathered to hear presentations, to celebrate reconciliation, adoration. You were there for that as well, and you had a special guest, Mark Wahlberg, famous actor, and had a conversation. You were a great interviewer. You should sit in this chair. I thought of that night.
Well, it's very natural because he was so relaxed about all of this, and we had visited earlier about all of this about 6 months before. And I tossed the idea out to him, and he said if he could fit it on his schedule, he would do it.
That's
so
great.
It was a good experience, and he was able to talk about his own faith journey.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you've heard the comments that were made.
No.
But a number of people said, "I came to hear Mark Wahlberg. I came talking about Mark Wahlberg. I left talking about Sister Debbie."
Oh yes, she was terrific.
Right?
I understand. Yeah.
But to have that experience, to be drawn by the actor, but then to have been moved on a level of faith.
That's right, and I think that it was really the whole situation of the various speakers were so engaging, and there was such a variety.
Yeah.
That what was good. They had a great variety of speakers. The priest who talked about science.
Yep. From the Vatican Observatory.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it was a high-powered group.
It was.
Yeah.
And it shows the Archdiocese's commitment to ministry to youth and to young adults.
Right, yeah.
So
my hope would be, and what's nice is that we have the contact information of all these young people, so that we're going to keep in touch with them, and I think we need to almost build this virtual community among them.
Nice. That would be a great opportunity to reach out, right? All right. Cardinal, in just a week or so, we are all over the Archdiocese. Parishes are taking part in a collection all over the Archdiocese for the Catholic Campaign for Human Development, the CCHD. The CCHD grants monies to organizations who that are directed to the root cause of poverty. What are those root causes, and how important is CCHD for that ministry?
One of the root causes is that people don't have access to some capital, even in terms of micro grants, that allow them to either start up businesses that have a social impact, that help people get adequate housing, to do job training. So the Campaign for Human Development, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, those funds, which every bishop has to approve if the projects are in his diocese, are targeted towards helping people, giving them not a handout but a hand up.
Oh, wow.
And so it is a way in which, in fact, the boards of these various organizations, they have to have a majority of people who are in a certain lower income level.
Oh, really?
So that it really is grassroots. It's not another kind of a organization that's headed up by a foundation or a group of wealthy people who are trying to do good, but it's a grassroots effort by which people come together in a small organization that they're trying to be in contact with the needs of that local community.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we certainly encourage our viewers to be generous, and it actually it is this collection is being taken up on the World Day for the Poor.
Exactly, and again, I think that people should identify this not as a handout, but it's a hand up. It's a reaching down to people to let them come up to another level. And I think that that really is inviting to people. We can continue, and we need to do the kind of charity that helps people in a need. Clothing and food, shelter, and so on. But we also need to look at the systems of poverty that are built into society. Poverty is systemic. People are kept in poverty for generations because they have no opportunity. So this is about building capacity for that opportunity.
Not to state the obvious, but it's all about helping people develop, right? For human development, and as you said, not just putting a Band-Aid on or taking care of an immediate need.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So for those our viewers, if you want to make a donation or learn more about the CCHD, go to cchdchicago.org or cchdchicago.com. Cardinal, talking about poverty, something recently, an experience that you had, was kind of touching back to your past. When you were bishop in South Dakota, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation was there, and our production note said that it's in one of the poorest counties in the country. Is that true?
Well, the Diocese of Rapid City has 3 of the 10 poorest counties.
Oh, wow.
And the poorest county. And so it is, Pine Ridge is in that county, in that area. So it is a very, very underdeveloped place, and they run the Jesuits run the Red Cloud Indian School.
Right, right. And some of them were here in Chicago, and you celebrated a Mass with them, a special Mass with them at St. James Chapel here at Quigley.
Right.
And we've got a video package on that. So
it's very colorful, I'm sure.
Yeah, I want to see it.
We begin today this Red Cloud event with prayer. At Red Cloud, we teach students to use the prayers and hymns that you and I learned as children. We also use the Lakota language, rituals, and music. Praying in a Lakota way penetrates the human heart and expresses the heartbeat of the people. Lakota people's experience of life is to be surrounded by relatives. They believe they have a special relationship with the Creator and are connected to all of God's creatures, two-legged, four-legged, winged. Mitakuye Oyasin. We are all related. At Mass today, let the drumming, the singing, the azalea, that is the smudging, nudge you into a different way of praying. May this prayer penetrate your heart and open your mind to the varied ways that God teaches us that we are one bread, one body, formed in the divine image and sent to bring good news, the good news of Christ, to the world through compassion, mercy, forgiveness, and reconciliation.
We're here on this day of praying for all souls, that we have at the heart of our belief that the communion of saints, the communion that we belong to, doesn't perish with death, but that there is that connection that we have with one another. And so we are praying for those who have died. I've always thought that for the Lakota people, the curtain between time and eternity is much thinner than it is for the rest of us in this Western world. They have a sense that they are still united with those who have gone before them, to the point where at the year's anniversary they have their giveaway, a way in which they remember the dead but connect with the things that maybe were owned by that person and giving away, or other gifts that they give to the people who were part of the mourning and the grieving that happened throughout that year. So today, on Feast of All Souls, it's an opportunity for us to really see the connection that we have, not only with each other, but those who have died, and to actually pray for them.
For teachers, counselors, and staff at Red Cloud, that they will find creative and blessed ways to promote its mission as a Lakota Catholic school in the Jesuit tradition. We pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer.
Yeah, indeed colorful. It was what we call an enculturated Mass.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, prior to my coming there in 1998, my predecessor, now he's the Archbishop of Philadelphia, Archbishop Hugh, who is Potawatomi Indian, part Native American, put together guidelines for how we enculturate Native symbols and actions into worship. And so one of them being, of course, the use of the drum. The drum is very important for the Native Americans because it is for them an echo of the heartbeat.
Oh, wow.
So whenever, when you think about it, it has that kind of thumping sound, that, much like one's heart. And so it is a way in which that whole community is to come together as one heart. And in fact, their greeting,
which is what the Eucharist is all about, right?
Exactly. But their greeting to say hello is about offering one's heart and asking you to give your heart in return. And it is Shante Washte Nape Chiuzapi Lo is the Indian phrase, the Lakota phrase. But then they also say at the end, whenever they break up, they say Medakuasin, which means we are all relatives. So there is a sense in which they have a very strong communitarian understanding of the human person. People, while they are individuals, are also members of a community. And the liturgy reflects that in a very beautiful way.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Tell us about the Red Cloud Indian School, because these were representatives.
Right.
And thank you for pointing out that this is the Lakota tribe.
Right. The Red Cloud Indian School began with the Jesuits coming to Pine Ridge at the invitation of Red Cloud himself, Chief
really?
Red Cloud. And it was a time in which the whole understanding of the United States about the Indians, the Native Americans, was they had to be domesticated. So they would not allow other religions except for the Episcopalians into that part of South Dakota because it was a dominant religion and they wanted the Indians to be domesticated. Right. But then Red Cloud said to the American government, but they won't educate my children like the Black Robes, meaning the Jesuits.
Right.
So the government did allow the Jesuits to come in both Pine Ridge and Rosebud, and they started schools there. And to this day, Red Cloud Indian School continues. And the graduates, there was a young lady there who had a son at Brown University.
Really?
Who graduated and was on scholarship. So this is a way of helping develop those young people for the future, because they will otherwise be in poverty for the rest of their lives.
Oh, wow. So it was a good reunion for you.
It was really heartwarming for me.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad for that. Yeah. Well, we're going to end the show on yet another celebration, because on the evening of tonight, the evening that this is being taped, you're going to take part in the Noche de Gala, an annual celebration that honors those who minister in the Hispanic community.
Right.
And Al Castillo from a communications office has a report on the Noche de Gala. Let's take a look.
About 600 people attended the 19th Annual Hispanic Ministry Awards Banquet at the Drury Lane in Oakbrook Terrace. The theme of this year's Noche de Gala, celebrating the vitality of Hispanic ministry. There was a lot to celebrate in work, dedication, and deeds of the major award recipients. Father John Foley received the St. John the 23rd Award for a lifetime of service centered on education. Father Foley founded Cristo Rey High School and its education model that offers an excellent education to low-income students. Sister Alma Rosa Huerta Reyes was honored with the St. Teresa of Avila Award. Sister Alma Rosa was a volunteer with Pastoral Migratoria and worked tirelessly to bring comfort to immigrants about to be deported. Deacon Pablo Perez is the 2017 recipient of the St. Stephen Award. Deacon Perez ministers at Colby House. He visits prisoners at Cook County Jail, bringing comfort to the prisoners as well as to their families. The Gaudium et Spes Award was presented to Celeste Flores, who says protecting the environment is both her passion and the best expression of her Catholic faith. She is Outreach Director of Faith in Place, an interfaith group that helps people develop an ecological conscience about protecting the environment. Finally, the St. John Paul II Award went to Dominican University for its rich history of reaching out to the immigrant community. The university proclaims its campus a sanctuary for undocumented students, and it openly expresses support for their rights. Congratulations to all the 2017 Hispanic Ministry Award recipients. I'm Al Castillo reporting from Noche de Gala.
It's every year. It's a great celebration. I've been to it a couple of times, but it's really a great opportunity to honor those who have such a dedication to ministering to the Hispanic community.
Well, they really are unsung heroes who don't get a lot of attention, but do it out of love for people and love of the church. And that's why I enjoy those events, just to say thanks to people, but to encourage them. And I take encouragement from their generosity.
Yeah, it's always a well-attended event.
And the
great numbers.
The food's good.
And the food is good, exactly, and the food is good. So it's like I said, it's just a great opportunity to honor our ministers. And
That's
so
right.
Thanks for being part of that.
Thank you.
I want to remind our viewers that if you want to see this video and hundreds of other Catholic videos, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Cardinal, it's always good to be with you. Thanks so much for the time.
Great.
All right?
Thanks so much.
And to our viewers, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time here on Catholic Chicago.
We invite you to watch segments of Catholic Chicago and hundreds of additional Catholic videos at youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.